don't expand unless you know you have some marketing knowledge, right? So in other words, you have to have your unique value proposition. You have to have your unfair advantage. If I ask you, what do you want to be known for? Oh, good food, good service. I said, every restaurant in the world wants to be known for good food, good service. That is not
baseline.
That's not unique value proposition, right? So having that story behind your brand so that you are unique. So everything we do has to have a strategy. If the strategy is not right, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, look, the best marketing that you can have is your own consumer, your own customer. So when people come and they experience it, and then you come and then you tell 3 people, they come, they tell 3 people, and that's how you get a real sustainable business.
So do you think like there's like a hollowing of the middle where consumers are either like seeking value, right? So either they're going for like, I can pay, man, but you gotta give me the exciting stuff, or like I'm going for like seeking that consumption value, right? Where the middle is kind of like disappearing, or or like what's that read there? Welcome back to TFC Business Show live at the Franchising Licensing Asia 2025. This is midday, so if you are still on your way to MBS, please come and check out booth AD37, and there are many other interesting franchises and licensing opportunities here today for you. So I am your host, Reggie, aka Your Chief Financial Coconut, and I'm joined with
Hi everyone, my name is Amir and from the Golden Nuggets podcast.
Yeah, so for our audience that don't know, like what is the Golden Nuggets podcast?
For those who don't know, Golden Nuggets podcast is the #1 Malay business podcast.
Because it's the only one.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be the only one, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. And in the media space, you have to be the only one to stay relevant. But today, the restaurant business is a difficult business to be the only one, right? You are always competing. It's very difficult. And to stay relevant and stay competitive, we have 2 great guests from 2 great companies to be with us today. For our audience that don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Reggie. Hi, Amir. My name is Sarissa Schwartz. I'm from New York. I moved to Singapore in 2011. I've been in F&B pretty much my whole life since I was 14 years old.
Why?
I needed money, Reggie.
Okay.
But I fell into it. I did go to university for finance and business and marketing, but I was recruited out here in 2011 to open up a place for the Marina Bay Sands. It ended up being the most profitable nightclub in the world per square foot, according to Forbes. That allowed me to then 3 years later, I left that company and started my own company. And from there, I expanded into nightclubs, lounges, bars, restaurants. And currently I have a taco chain called Poppy's Tacos. There's 4 outlets throughout the island. I have a restaurant called Pasta Bar. Since 2019, artisanal, fresh, handmade pasta, very popular. I have Singapore's first tamaleria, Mommy's Tamales, in Chinatown. And I just recently opened up an 18,000 square foot 5 concept venue called Kotu at Capita Green in the CBD, with a lounge called Whisper Room, a steakhouse called Enso, a nightclub, Dashi Go-Go, a sky pool, and a cocktail bar. So that's where I am currently. So that's a little bit about, it's been 15 years.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you. And yes, Andrew, for our audience.
Yeah, my name's Andrew Ng. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of OUE Restaurants. I've been doing this for 40 years, yes.
40 years.
Hey, this is not a competition of length.
No,
okay?
I'm the oldest man in the room, man.
like-
Don't worry. I'm the oldest man in the room. This is fine. And I've been doing this, since I was about 17. And in Singapore, I moved in 93. I was brought here by Zook. So I came here to work I was 8 years marketing manager at Zook back in the 90s in Jack Kim Street during its heyday. And I also created the first Zook Out Festival. That was my baby. And then after that, I was in the agency doing marketing work. And then I did St. James Power Station, set that up and ran it for 6.5 years.
I hear all my childhood names.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah. We had
You were selling to us.
Yeah,
you were trying to sell to
Yeah.
us. Yes.
And then after that, I joined the Lo & Behold Group. I was there for 9 years, and I've been with OUE Restaurants about 4 years. And the brands we currently have that people may know, places like Chatterbox, the most expensive chicken rice in Singapore, as we all
Yeah.
know, as well as View, which is on top of the building at OUE Bayfront, Hanen. We also own Délifrance in Singapore and Hong Kong. And we have a place called High House and Nova at One Raffles Place. And we have a casual concept, which is a spin-off from Hanten called Chen's Mapo Tofu, as well as Rampapa, which is Damien De Silva's restaurant that we're going to be moving to National Gallery Singapore in about a month's time. So keeping me busy, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, and we're very good friends with OUE. You know, we are at OUE downtown too, right? So great friends with the REITs. A lot of our good friends around. But I really want to ask, why you leave Lo and Behold to join OUE? Lo and Behold sounds like all the cool concepts, interesting frontiers.
Yeah, no,
you know,
it was
OUE
just a
is like very business. You know?
it was an opportunity that came about with OUE, and in a way, maybe my time at Lo and Behold was coming to an end in terms of 9 years there, and in a way, when I joined Lo and Behold, I remember Teng was only about in his early 30s, and when I joined OUE, Brian, my boss, he's also in his early 30s. So maybe I'm the guy that works with visionary bosses at a certain point of their life or career stage or journey, and I come in there at the right time to build the business to a certain level. Then either I outgrow them or they outgrow me, or they get sick of me and I need to move on, and they need to move me on. So either way, yeah.
Okay. That's a different podcast,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
We'll go there another time, right? But I think to lay the ground, we wanted to do this episode, I think, a lot because of the context of what's happening. You see so many restaurants closing. Of course, there's the other side of the story. New concepts are opening up and all that, and then there's like record high, rental prices, and then all the inputs are going up, right? So I think that's why we wanted to do this, and it's set within FL Asia, right, where there's so many restaurant, F&B, franchise concepts, right? So maybe just to lay the ground, help us understand, like, what is your read on the current, F&B landscape in Singapore? Yeah.
It's pretty tough out there. I think, 21 was COVID still, right? So 2022 was probably when we all had a great time. Yeah. Grants were still coming in. People were starting to spend again, travel, all that stuff. Everyone was sick of being at home, watching Netflix and drinking their own alcohol, and they had to get out, right? So 22 was the best year, but 23 was not as good as 22. 24 wasn't as good as 23. 25 is not going to be good as bad as 24, and 26, who knows? With that funny man in the White House, I think 26 could be the worst of the lot, right? So, but having said that, as you just said just now, people are still opening places. Like you said, a lot of closures, but a lot of openings as well. So, the scene is as vibrant as possible. There's a lot of other problems that we face, and I'm sure Sarissa will talk about that. Like, all your things about people complain about landlords, and I think the industries and people are not spending as much as they used to. Maybe they go out less frequently. Maybe they don't have the extra cocktail or the extra dessert with their meal, so they're spending a little bit less per person. But at the same time, when you create a really amazing experience, people seem to be spending more money. So I think it's what's happening now, which I'm really happy about, is I think people are sick of cookie cutter products and concepts. And I think when you do things differently, like what Sarissa does with Kotu, she has a great concept there, 5 different concepts on one roof. You have to create reasons for people to come out and give them a reason to have an experience. And when you do that, like for example, for us with Chatterbox, people say, the most expensive chicken rice, but I do between 450 to 500 customers a day, every day. And they spend, my chicken rice is $25 a head, but they spend $50 a head. So tell me, you know what I mean, right? So it's about creating value to your products. And when I say value, it's not because it's cheap, but value meaning if you're paying this price, but the value is this, then that works at whatever price point. So to me, it's a really simple equation. Create value, make it different, make it unique. Don't make it cookie cutter, and people will come to you.
So do you think like there's like a hollowing of the middle in that sense, where consumers are either like seeking value, right? So either they're going for like, I can pay, man, but you gotta give me the exciting stuff, or like I'm going for like seeking that consumption value where, this is great, cheap and good, right? Where the middle is kind of like disappearing, or or like what's that read there?
For our brands, we have middle ground. Like we have a great concept called Hanare, and our average check is about $70 a head, and we're always full. So people, that's the sweet spot. So you have the 3 tiers. So maybe at the high 3 Michelin star, that's probably valued for them at that price, maybe, but not all Michelin stars are doing well. I mean, we had a lot of closures this past year, right? So you just got to find the right point that works for you guys. And then you have things that people complain when they go to hawker center, it's $5 instead of $3, right? So for them, it's all about how you measure value, right? And it's very subjective. I mean, subjective in the sense of up to you how you want to spend your money, right? So
Yeah. Is there certain like price point kind of reference, like $50, $20, like, you know?
I mean, going off of what Andrew has been saying is that I think when it comes to value, it's also in relation to something that I call buyer's remorse. So I'm also a consumer. And if I think about going out, I'm going to think about what I'm going to spend and what that experience is going to mean to me. And my gauge, and when I go out and I visit my own venues and I sit there and I eat and I experience it for myself, if you're not thinking about it the next day as a customer, you probably won't go back, right? So yes, of course, there's an element of money. You know, when it comes to the Michelin restaurants, you don't want to always spend, you know, these days, you know, $1,000 for a couple if you drink wine, right? But if you do have that special occasion, anniversary or birthday, and maybe a few times a year you do choose to do that, the worst thing that can happen to you is buyer's remorse. So when it comes to a price point, what I always try to do is keep it in the vein of can I give this experience for value without having people think too much about it, second guess it too much, and not have buyer's remorse. And that's something that I learned when I first moved here in 2011. When I opened up, it was a place called Pangea, and it was very popular. And it was, again, people would come and they would spend tons of money, but the most important thing was to ensure that no one had buyer's remorse the next day. And I believe that is the biggest difference. So price, yes, there is a sweet treat culture, right? Of I'm going to go and I'm going to have a little sweet treat, and that's going to be my treat for the day or for the week. And I'm going to feel satisfied for that. And that's a lot what a lot of the younger generation is doing now. That's why you see a lot of cafes and bakeries being very popular. But if you are going to go out, spend the time, sit down, get away from your Netflix, get off your TikTok and short form content, and you do want an experience, but the price and the experience, you can't have buyer's remorse about it. And that's really what it comes down to.
So based on the concepts that you're running, what is the kind of price in your head where you're trying to structure, you know, the ticket?
I have a concept, it's called Poppy's Tacos. It's Singapore's, you know, only authentic taqueria. So we modeled that after a Mexican food truck, and business model wise, it is great. It's you know, low cost to build. It's fast ROI. And as far as manpower, it's very lean, and it's a fun, festive experience that delivers consistently on food. And it's a good price point, but we're able to keep that price point down because everything else is somewhat lean. And that's an expandable, scalable model.
But I'm curious, like you mentioned about values, right? Different people have the different perceived value. So how do you know that what value you are bringing in is something the consumer actually wants?
Maybe the better question is, what do consumers want?
Well, so you need to know your audience, right?
Yes.
So this is the thing that a lot of restaurateurs don't always get. Know your audience. I mean, you create a product, you got to know who your audience is, and then that's how you measure whether you have value or not for that audience. Like when we did Hanare, we're in Ngee Ann City, we're in District 9 and 10. I knew my audience is going to be those people that live in District 9 and 10 who go to Ngee Ann City all the time. They can, to them, $70 a head is a cheap Japanese meal. It's not for everyone, right? But for that audience, it's affordable Japanese, and that's what we want to be for them. Would that work in the heartlands? No. So I have other concepts in the heartlands where the price average check is about $20. So you just need to know your audience and adjust it according to your audience. A lot of people open restaurants and don't know who their audience are, or the profile of the audience, or the psychographics, or the usual details. So you got to know that. So
So what is an audience that is hard to crack? I mean, you've been around, you've done all sorts of concepts. what is the audience that is very difficult to crack? Which demographic? What's the price point? What is their income? Which area do they stay? Just so I get a sense, right? Like, who are the tough ones that are overserved,
Well, okay, I'll give you examples. So we did, so we have this concept called Chen's Mapo Tofu, which is, we have one in Downtown Gallery, one in Star Vista. And we got a space in Paragon at the start of the year, and we decided to, and I mentioned just now, it was $20 a head, right? So when we got the space at Paragon, we wanted to do something a bit more evolved, and we expanded the menu. We did a lot more sharing plates, so we appealed to more families. Now, the average check there is $30 a head, right? Because again, it's in Paragon. So again, maybe it's a bit slightly, more affluent people. And so the average check is $30 a head, but we purposely went for that because we knew that was the audience, right? So it's really understanding your location. On the flip side, I have something like Délifrance, which works very well in the heartlands, but doesn't work in the CBD because there's too many independent bakeries and everything that have a certain cachet or niche that they do well, but whereas Délifrance is a very well-known brand that's been around, appeals to the mass audience who are in the heartlands, and it does very well in the heartlands. So again, it's all about right location for the right concept with the right price point, with the right branding, with the right product offering, and just making sure those decisions are made correctly. So
Yeah, I agree. We've been offered places in a lot of these really top-tier malls. In Orchard and in the CBD, and they go after a specific concept of ours. But for example, Poppy's Tacos, yes, it's great footfall, but do I think that audience is going to order one or two margaritas? Probably not. So I have to look at my business model a little bit differently. So I think that Andrew's spot on when he says it's about location and understanding who you're serving. But at the end of the day, I also think every audience is very different. They're looking for different things. I think it's about being smart and doing that market research and understanding, for example, if I were to go into halal space, I would want a partner that has experience with that, right? So that we can kind of maneuver that together.
You mentioned a lot about making sure that you know your audience. How do you then drive innovation into your business? Because a lot of people, they know that this is what my audience wants, so this is what I'm giving them. But how do you innovate then further?
Well, something that I've always done when it comes to conceptualizing is not being first to market, but being best to market. So there needs to be a frame of reference where there's familiarity with the concept, and there needs to be then pushing that a little bit forward. And so that could be perceived as innovation. For example, I brought it over employees only from New York, and it was the first high volume cocktail bar really in Singapore. And I believe that the market was ready for it based off of the way that people were moving and drinking and gathering at the time. And luckily I was right, but it wasn't a completely fresh new concept. You had many amazing cocktail bars before that. So I do think it's about just understanding where people are at. If you can move it a little bit forward you don't want to be too far ahead of your time, but you also don't want to do something that has been done.
for me, innovation is really understanding your brand and the storytelling behind it. Okay, so one thing, just say that with a lot of operators who don't understand marketing, right? I said, don't expand unless you know have some marketing knowledge, right? So in other words, you have to have your unique value proposition. You have to have your unfair advantage. If I ask you, what do you want to be known for? Oh, good food, good service. I said, every restaurant in the world wants to be known for good food, good service. That is not
baseline.
That's not unique value proposition, right? So having that story behind your brand, so that you are unique and the product is unique. So I'll give you an example. Shisin Hanen that we have at our one Michelin star restaurant at the Hilton. It's Sichuan cooking, but it's done by a Japanese chef using Japanese ingredients. And it's a third generation concept from Japan, right? So Kentaro's grandfather was born in China, moved to Japan, married a Japanese lady. He was the father of Sichuan cooking in Japan. His son, Kenichi, was one of the original Iron Chefs on TV. And Kentaro is the third generation. So we do Sichuan cooking through the lens of a Japanese chef using Japanese ingredients. So flavors are different. That is something that you can't copy easily. You cannot It's a unique value proposition. It has a point of view, and you innovate within that story that you have, and you keep trying different things, but you stand out from other Sichuan restaurants or other Japanese restaurants or other fine dining restaurants, because it's all about that competitive advantage, right? Being different. And a lot of landlords are looking for that difference, not yet another cafe or another hipster cafe or another mala store or something. You want uniqueness. That's how you stand out, and that's how you become not just relying on footfall of a mall, for example, but you're the magnet to draw business in, and you actually help the landlord by bringing in customers that wouldn't go to that mall in the first place because everything else is pretty crass, right? But it's all about being different, and that's the essence of doing business. Like, you have to be different and unique, and that's where marketing strategy and branding comes in, right? Understanding that, because a lot of these other guys will think marketing is doing one-for-one promotions. That's not marketing, mate. That's not marketing. That is tactical, whatever.
Absolutely. It's about having a problem, solving that problem, making noise about that problem, then delivering on the fact that you solved that problem every single day until the end of time.
You guys are veterans. Okay, I don't know. I think it's okay,
Sarissa's
right?
not a veteran yet.
Okay, you're a veteran in the space, but you're a seasoned as well, right? So we're not here to compete on length of experience, but you've done multiple successful concepts. And, it gets to a point where you become a craftsman, right? You kind of get a sensing, you know what's happening, you get a look and feel, right? And that's the part that people trying to enter the space will never be able to copy right from the start. They will need to do their grind for 10, 20 years, right? But at this point in time, you may have some framework around deciding on your next concept, right? So can I hear a little bit on that so that, new entrants, we're not trying to empower your competition, yeah, but for people that are looking at this, that's like, oh, okay, you can kind of do it this way. So how do you kind of have that framework to decide?
It's really about understanding where people are at in their journeys on life, right? So right now we're all competing with Netflix, short form content, Deliveroo, all of these things that make it very comfortable to be in your home. So what problem is not being solved? That's how I look at it. What is something that's a unique value proposition that people are going to put everything down, come out, spend the time, spend the money, and then walk away feeling like they got something worthwhile. And it is, for new entrants coming in, you do really need to understand the way that Singapore operates and how everybody moves around the city. You have to go where they live. It's something that also we've done with Poppy's Tacos, is we've gone where people live. And then in the CBD with Kotu, we've gone to, where people are working. So really kind of maneuvering and location and understanding what's missing in the market and then delivering that in a consistent way.
I would say strategy is important, right? So everything we do has to have a strategy. If the strategy is not right, then it's not worth it. So I'll give you an example. So a few years ago, when RWS approached us about taking up a space in their new development, which is now called Weave, and we were looking for a space for one of our restaurants, Rampapa, and they told us, it's going to be here, we're going to redo the forum. And I thought, okay, all right. Then we started thinking about not Rampapa, but, what about bringing Chatterbox there? But Chatterbox is doing very well at Hilton. We only want to do one. It's 450, 500 customers a day. It's fine. Let's not do more. But we realized there was a strategic place for us to be at Resorts World, because our job at Resorts World is to keep all of the hotel guests on Sentosa from leaving the island. And for us, you don't need to go to Hilton. You can have your chicken rice on the island and keep spending at Resorts World, go to the Oceanarium, go to Universal Studios, do all the things. So Resorts World saw how compelling our strategy was, because you don't have to lose your hotel guests going to Hilton to have chicken rice. We'll be there for you. And then I don't want anyone from the mainland going to Sentosa to have chicken rice, because you don't need to. You stay at Hilton, the Sentosa guests can go to Resorts World, and everyone's happy. And so it's about really understanding the strategy behind it, your positioning, what you do, how you think about it, the research, as Sarissa said, doing your research, who your competitors, all that stuff has to be done.
Yeah, that's true. Kotu at Capita Green with the 5 concepts inside was partially conceptualized because Grab prices have gone through the roof. So just from experience, if I was going out with my girlfriends and we have to get out of the restaurant by 10:30, and then we want to think, okay, I'm a mom. I have so am I going to go to another place for a cocktail? But then what if it's cold? And then what if it's not good? And what if I don't what if there's nowhere to sit? Now I'm thinking in my head, if I'm going to really go, you know what, by that time, I'm just going home. And, $30 to $40 grab ride later, we all get in the premium, go there. So with Kotu at Capita Green, it was more about how can we keep everybody here, right? And how do we give that experience where you don't have to think, if you want to come to the restaurant, to the steakhouse, and then never go anywhere else, that's fine. If you want to hop in, you want to see how Whisper Room is doing, and then you don't have to think. And that's why they all really feed each other.
Okay. I do want to ask a little bit more about the deals, right? Because the last thing you want is to be a run-of-the-mill concept in any property, right? You don't get advantage, you don't get support, you don't get all those stuff, right? And from what I get from the market, if you're an interesting concept, you're invited, or you're asked to come to the property, you get a lot of advantage, right? There are all sorts of special arrangements, so just help us understand, right? What is the usual kind of practice when dealing from concept to properties, and how do you get to that level where these kind of big property guys are like, hey, come, bring your concept here, right? Just give us some color. I know you cannot go to the details of the deal.
No,
right?
of course. No, but I think it's about, for example, obviously we're part of a big property company, OUE, right? So with a small little restaurant division that, and so obviously a lot of people know who we are and everything. But at the end of the day, we still have to be strong concepts and delivering great experiences for people that they will want to approach us. And I think you just get that knack, I suppose, that track record, and it just snowballs from there. You just do one great product, and then the next great product, and then the landlords will start looking for you. And as much as people say landlords can be tough and everything, but I know this past year we signed a few leases, although we weren't planning to, but we did because the deals were so good and because they wanted this brand or this brand to go in, and they had no issues about giving us what we wanted. So that's what I'm trying to say to everyone. If you're going to do everything the same thing all the time, then you may not get a great deal. But if you're willing to try new things, be bold, be different, have a point of view, have an unfair advantage, have a unique value proposition, and then the landlords will come to you. Or before I came here, I was having lunch with one of the ex-founders of PS Cafe. He was just telling me the story about working with Capital Land at Raffles City when they had, PS Cafe in that beautiful space on the top floor. I asked him this question: did Capland come to you with that configuration already, or did you tell them, I want that space and I'm going to do this for you? He goes, a bit of both. They had an idea. It wasn't that good. He said, I want to change it and do this and do this. I think they wanted to do like a mezzanine thing. And then he said, I don't want mezzanine. I want to put all my plants up there. And the impact of that is better than a bloody mezzanine, right? Where no one's going to be. So I just thought, wow, that's a great story. That's basically the people behind the concept going to a landlord and said, what do you want us to do? Okay, you want us to fill this space? Okay, we will bring people up to this floor, but you let us design the infrastructure that will allow us to do what we do specially, and then people will come. And that's what the deal he got. And of course, the lady, I remember this lady who worked at Capland supported them. They got it approved. And I think everyone's been to that PS Cafe and how beautiful it is, right? So imagine if it was done by the landlord with another tenant. It wasn't that visionary or that design savvy like PS Cafe. Who knows what it would be? It could be another dead zone again, or what's the word? A white ghost, whatever you call it. Anyway, white elephant. Sorry, yeah, but it's not. It's a great space now because they work together, collaborate together with the landlord, and bring the strengths of the landlord and the tenant together and create something that everyone talks about to this day. And that's what you want, right? Landlords that are open-minded to work with people who create concepts and create something that's very special. And the landlords are out there doing that, but you've got to be able to do your part as well, right? If you're just going to do a cookie cutter concept, and that's the other thing about PS Cafe, right? I respect for the guys is that every one of the PS Cafes, I mean, during the old days, yeah, would you call it a chain? Yeah, it's a chain because there's many of them, right? The logo's the same, and you walk in, it feels like a PS Cafe, but design elements are all very different, but it feels like a PS Cafe, right? So that's, again, they design every single space on its own merits. It's not like the same design for all their PS Cafes. So that's why, yeah, you respect that because it's very visionary. And he just opened up his new place called Chippy Bistro at Chippy Garden. Wow, beautiful space. I went for lunch with him recently. It's amazing. It feels like PS Cafe, but it's not, right? So yeah.
Okay, so creative, innovative, and also problem solving. These are some of the traits that I would say is needed for business owners who want to actually thrive, right? But what is one quality and one additional quality that they need to have to be able to thrive in the future? Moving forward.
Yeah, future-proofing yourself.
You have to have a huge sense of urgency. It's something that I find is that everything needs to happen yesterday.
You're making it so hard.
You don't have the luxury. You don't have the luxury. Look, when you're in this business, you have to deliver at 100% all the time. And of course, no, we can't do that, right? But people are not very forgiving. I've known people that have been going to some really incredible restaurants for 10 years and super loyal, and they have one bad experience and they say they're never going back. And I stand up for those places that aren't mine. I say, well, 10 years, that maybe they had just one off night, give them another chance. But you have to have a sense of urgency of really making a lot of noise, putting yourself out there, making sure that everything is absolutely perfect. Everything just needs to happen very, very quick. It's very difficult to wait to see if you need to make an adjustment in your business, you have to do that right away. I would say sense of urgency.
For me, it's about taking care of people, and I mean your own people. I'm a people first culture person in the sense that the companies I run, from Lo and Behold to here, I've always focused on my people. As a COO, I spend 50% of my time on human capital matters, right? So for me, making sure my staff are engaged, taken care of, leading with compassion, I'm listening to them. It's all about human capital, right? For me, it's about taking care of your people. And if you do that, they'll take care of your guests. They'll take care of your partners, your suppliers, whoever else they need to take care of. So for me, the essence of what I do, the key thing for me is taking care of my people. That's it.
Yeah, it sounds very difficult to be a restaurant and to be a successful operator in the F&B concept. So yeah, if you are tuning in, maybe there's a sign to not do it, But if you were to do it, I hope those ideas and concepts are helpful for you, frameworks to develop into a better operator, right? So maybe one last question, right? So it's not easy to create a successful concept, but it's probably even harder to keep the concept relevant over time, right? And I know some of your concepts have been kind of updated, it's very hard, right? So I just want to hear any stories or any ideas, like when do you look at updating your concepts? When do you look at big brand shifts, or when do you see, there's a cycle here, we got to adjust, just
are you still empowering the competitors?
No.
I love to empower competitors. I love to learn from others as well, so it's great.
Yeah. So share with us, like, how do you kind of keep your brand updated, keep your concepts fresh? How do you look at these update cycles,
Yeah, the best marketing that you can have is your own consumer, your own customer. So when it comes to opening a new concept, it's about obviously making a big splash, a lot of noise. But when people come and they experience it, and then you come and then you tell 3 people, they come, they tell 3 people, and that's how you get a real sustainable business. And if people are coming back and they're enjoying it, then you know that you're really onto something. And there are many restaurants out there that have been around for 10, 20, 30 years. So hopefully you don't need to make a brand shift. You do it very slightly where you're really understanding your customer and making those fast changes that we spoke about. And it becomes a long-lasting business. I mean, Pasta Bar has been around since 2019, Poppy's Tacos since 2017. Hopefully, Kotu will be around for, at least 10 years. We'll see. I mean, hopefully we don't have to do that because they're timeless concepts that people love, and they become part of the thread of the community.
Okay, fair. For you, like I'm looking at you at Délifrance, right? Because like I grew up with it, but at some point it fizzled out on my life altogether, right? And then this thing is like, where did Délifrance go? Then out of nowhere, suddenly there was like a refresh, and it become relevant again. Like I was like, what is this?
The first thing is when I stop being a customer in my own outlets, then it's time to close up. Or because to me, I need to love patronizing my own venues because, and then I will watch it grow and evolve together, right? That's really important because when it doesn't, then you lose interest, then that's it. It means it's over probably. But if you love your product and you want to keep it moving forward, then you have to keep going. And then you'll make the changes along the way and keep it going because you love going there and you want to keep it, right? So that's one thing. Délifrance is an interesting one. So quickly, we often have this issue with Délifrance customers, who are, and I always say this, it's a life stage, right? So I always say that when the kids are like 13 to like 25, they will never go to Délifrance. They go to hipster cafes because that's what they do, right? But they usually went to Délifrance when they were growing up because their parents took them there and it was something very familiar. And that's where the resurgence came in. During COVID, Délifrance actually took off again because COVID, they wanted something familiar, something soulful, something for, just also value for money, everything. So that's where we saw the resurgence. Now, you went there as a kid up to a certain age, to 13. Then you went to hipster cafes. Then at 25, you start your first job, whatever it is. And you want something affordable again. So you go to Délifrance. Oh, yeah, it's been a while. I'll try it. Then you start having a family. And guess what? You'll go to Délifrance. And then your kids grow up at Délifrance until they get to 13, then they go to hipster cafes again. So it's this cycle of, we can't compete with the hipster cafes because that's what teenagers want at that age. But when it comes to value for money, as you become an adult and a family, you're looking for affordable, consistent value for money, and just solid experiences, then Délifrance can occupy that space. So I'm not trying to attract those 13-year-old kids because they won't go because it's where their parents go to, right? But once they become a parent, they'll take their kids there. And then those kids up to the age of 13 will be going there, eating their tuna mayo baguette or their seafood mayo croissant, whatever. So just understand the role you play in someone's life cycle or life journey, right?
Interesting.
So if you want to open a cafe, right, make sure you see how many Délifrance are there.
Yeah.
The more Délifrance, then
if too many Délifrance, this is a wrong place. We're not here. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. Maybe one last question just to wrap it up, right? So I think the other day, Moose from Black Hole Group, came on the show and he did share with us his magic formula as to how do they calculate overall cost and price, right? So yes, I mean the ball is in your court, and help some of our younger entrepreneurs. He came up with like, this is the rent. I gotta like maybe 5 times the rent in terms of my pricing or something. I can't remember exactly.
Okay, I'll give you one financial
give
metric.
me a formula,
I'll give you one financial metric. Okay, and this is if you ever, for those who are budding entrepreneurs. At Temasek Poly, there's a course called F&B Revenue Management taught by Jeffrey Tai, and he asks this question every single time. Is it better to sell, say, a fish dish at $10 that has 30% food cost, or a steak, a $20 steak at 50% food cost? Most operators will go, sell the fish for 30% food cost, lower. No. Because when you do the fish at 30% food costs, you only make $7 because it's a $10 price point, $7. You sell a $20 steak, 50% food costs, you make $10. That's menu engineering. So a lot of people in F&B don't know because they look at the cost of goods sold, that percentage on an individual item. It's not the individual item you're looking at the totality of that. Individual items, like if we followed that formula, bottles of wine will be a normal $100 bottle of wine will probably be $400 because you want that extra margin. It's not true. most bottles of wine have the 50% cost because that's the way it is. But you make that sum of money for, say, a $200 bottle of wine, 50% cost, that's still $100 you're making, right? It's not percentages you make the money from, it's the dollar margin you make money from. So that's the little trick I tell everyone.
I love that. Yes.
But when it comes to that, the 5 times, I'm not sure what he said. But
Yeah, I cannot remember exactly.
We're very boring. We do projections. We do how much we expect people, how much we're going to charge and what we expect our spend per head to be. And then we do number of covers, and we kind of have we have a calculation through Monday. Obviously, is less than a Friday, and lunch is, we'll just do the worst case scenario. And if it works, then we move forward with that. So
Great.
I want to see his
Yeah.
though.
Check out. I will share with you the link, and we hope you enjoyed our panel here at the Franchising Licensing Asia. So if you're around, check us out. Come to MBS. This is TFC Business Show, and if our audience would like to connect with you, where is the best place to connect with?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Sarissa_Dawn or at SJS Group website.
I suppose I'm on LinkedIn. I think I'm on Instagram, but I don't know.
I think you're on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm definitely on LinkedIn. I'm not sure about Instagram. No, probably.
It's okay. It's okay.
Too young.
You know,
for
we
me,
don't want
but-
to be where our parents are. So
Yeah.
it's okay. LinkedIn, check out Andrew. So with that, that's all for this panel. We will join you in a few minutes. And that's all. Take care. Bye-bye. See you next time. Bye-bye.